Remote working or office working, it's going to be a big debate if it isn't already. And what's best for your people and your business? This is something that I'd like to discuss over the next few minutes for us to get us all thinking. Now, I think it's fair to say that during lockdown and working remotely and, none of it was planned, it just happened and we just had to get on with it. We've done brilliantly well. People have stepped up, IT systems have supported the businesses, and our team members have stepped up, and obviously the HR functions have been incredibly busy, but they've stepped up, managers have stepped up, leaders have stepped up. And on the whole, I think it's a big time to pat ourselves on the back and go, that was blooming tough, but we've done a good job of it. We've been efficient. Some organisations would say efficiency has gone up, that have still been able to operate. And things have gone pretty well, and even some senior managers, directors of businesses who perhaps were always very anti-working from home, are starting to go, perhaps I can trust my people. Although I've still got a director that I've been coaching, and he keeps saying to me, David, they're all out, they're all doing their gardening, enjoying themselves, cutting the grass. And I'm saying, look, it's the middle of January, and if you remember back to January, it was rather chilly, plenty of snow. I said, they're not cutting the grass in the middle of January. And I've had to be quite tough with him and getting to see things from a different perspective. We're still talking, so that's all good, and we're still doing the coaching conversations. But it has been important, and the efficiency has been very good. But what we're now starting to think about is long-term effectiveness. And that's going to then bring in the conversations of, are our people better off working from home, or do we want them all back in the office? And one thing has been noted that, and I say this at the start of quite a lot of my leadership and management programs that I've been doing remotely, think of the people that you used to speak to in the office that you've actually not had an informal conversation with for well over a year. And a lot of people are saying, gosh, that's quite a lot. And I said, is that meaning you're missing out on ideas? Is that meaning that you're missing out on what's happening around the business? Is collaboration actually reducing? And a lot of them are saying yes, and this is a real key area that we need to think about. But the fact is, remote working is here to stay. Some people have loved it, and they've loved the new freedom, less travelling, less buying expensive sandwiches at lunchtime. It's created a whole great new work-life balance. For others, they've hated it. They've missed the social interaction. They felt the walls are moving in on them. Plus also, one of the key things that a lot of people are feeling, they're actually working a lot longer hours. Because senior managers and leaders are still sending out emails out of hours into the evening, early mornings, weekends, and people feel that they've got to be literally on their laptops 24/7. And that's creating some, not some nice cultures and unrest in organisations that, senior managers and leaders have now got to really address and continue to create that culture of trust. So what I just want to do is talk about 5 different areas that we now need to start focusing on to manage this future. In terms of, should we let people continue to work from home, or do we want people back into the office? Now, my number 1 tip, start talking now. Start having these conversations in your reviews with your peoples. Now, let's get this right. This isn't an HR issue. This is a management issue. And managers have got to now start to think, how do I want my teams to operate in the future? How do I want it to be? And this is the time to start thinking. So weighing up different job roles, what is capable from home in the future? Okay, it's worked okay so far, but what about the long-term effectiveness and the collaboration? Start having these conversations now in your one-to-ones and your team meetings. You need to have a very good understanding of how your people see the situation. Are they wanting to come back straight away? I can't wait. Or they're saying, no, there's absolutely no need for me to come back into the working environment. I'm more than capable and effective, and it's working very well for me remotely. They may see it slightly different to you. So please, tip number 1, start having these conversations now. Really, really important. The second thing that I want us to think about is what suits your team and what suits their personalities. Let's deal with the team first. So can we collaborate, can we work as a team effectively remotely? You know, sit and start to think about and perhaps have conversations, as I said, with your team about how they feel it's been working. So does it really suit our team, or do we need to be in, you know, swapping ideas, you know, thinking of new ways? Is that 3 days a week? Is that 2 days a week? Does it need to be 5 days a week? How is it best going to work for your team? Start thinking about this, but also think about your personalities of your people. Remote working works for certain people. They love the ability just to sit there, do their work, no interaction with other people, and actually they quite like it. They're very highly self-motivated, they're very good with routine, they're very good organised, and they make things happen. And it works superbly well for them. And they have that personality type, which is great. But then you've got to think about, are there other personalities in my team that perhaps, don't have the self-discipline? They're not as organised. They need interaction to generate and bounce ideas and to work in a buzz. Some people, it's like sport. Some people are so much better at being team players, and others are much better at, say, playing tennis or golf when they've just got to focus on themselves. So you start to think about the personalities of your people, and that will help you start to think about what is going to be best for your people in the future. How does it need to work? So they're the 2 tips so far. The third area that I want us to think about, the tips, is naturally businesses need to create. And this is a list of 4 things that we do need to be very mindful of, which I'm sure you've already started thinking about and talking, if you're watching this as an HR professional or as a manager, that you're starting to have to talk with your HR people about. Home working, remote working policy, you need to have one. And there again, if you want some help on those things, please do get in contact. Create a working from home agreement. How's it going to work? What's the expectations? And especially, as I said earlier, with regards to, working out of hours, what is the expectations? What's the culture of the business? So your leader's going to promise not to, they may write the emails at weekends or at 12 o'clock at night, but they're going to sort of, have an agreement that they won't send it out until 8 o'clock the next morning. How's all that going to work? And there again, it's very important you have an agreement with that. Obviously, contracts of employment need to be reviewed and updated. And they need to reflect the home working change. So start to think about, actually developing people's contracts. And one thing that, I didn't really think about is, what about the equipment? Does it need to be regularly assessed? What about the environment they're working, the chairs, the tables? Perhaps the first thing they're doing after lockdown is having to phone the osteopath because their back's gone or the eyesight's not so good as it used to be, and having to go and see the opticians. How's a business going to support people in those areas? So that is something, as a third tip, that we need to be mindful of. The fourth one is, but what about the future culture? How does it want to work? And I think this is really quite important. We may like to say, right, everyone in, we're going to be more effective. But I don't think it's as easy as that. And I think we do need to think about the culture of the business, as how does it need to work in these ever-changing markets and client requirements. Can we really meet them working remotely versus the office? And that's something we need to think about, and how that is going to work. So I think you do really need to think about the results of your business here in the changing market and client requirements. Plus also, is consideration being given to attracting and retaining top talent? Are you going to say, no, we've all got to come into the office and we may lose people and good people? Because actually they've had this smell of the freedom of working remotely. And frankly, some of them have really enjoyed it. Could you potentially lose people? And what about attracting talent in the future? Not just retaining talent, but attracting talent for the future. And if we're saying, no, we've all got to be in the office, people go, oh, I don't like that. Or perhaps, we don't have an office environment, you've got to work from home. Well, I don't like working from home. How are we going to have that flexibility to make sure that we create the right culture? So we need to weigh all these things up for the benefit of the organisation, obviously, for the benefit of our people, the well-being, and actually what works best. Plus also, where does trust fit into the organisation in terms of its values and culture? Perhaps we need to go and relook at our values and our mission statements and what we want to be about and how we want our people to feel in the working environment. And yeah, that lovely word of trust. Does it really exist? Does it work in there? In the example I gave earlier. So I think that's really, really important to think about. So that's the fourth tip. The fifth one is very simple. Take action now. As I said, start having these conversations. Start thinking about policies. Start talking with perhaps external providers that can help set you up and provide support here. And this is really quite important. And yeah, take action now to engage managers at all levels in the business and engage your people with surveys and starting to think about what's the best way of it working. Because yeah, you know, we can't just sort of say to everybody, oh yeah, everyone can work from home and do what you want, and you can work either from 6 in the morning to 3 in the afternoon, or you can work from 10 in the morning to 9 at night, or you can just perhaps just work a night shift instead and have the day off. You know, does that fit with the business? You know, we could offer all those things and the business goes bust in 6 months and we go, well, where did it all go wrong? Well, we never had anyone around to talk to our clients. So we've got to start thinking about this. So please take action now. Please start having these conversations now. And naturally, yeah, if you've got any questions on what I've talked about, please do get in contact. Be more than happy to have a conversation with this, along with all the other management areas of support that I can offer. So yeah, remote working versus the office. It's a subject we can't put our head in the sands. It's going to come. And it's going to come very quickly. We've got to be fully prepared, but we've got to make the right decisions for the business and for the future of the business, the culture, retaining and attracting talent to the business. And as I said, need any more advice or help, please get in contact. So good luck with future-proofing your business and future-proofing your managers. It's going to be an interesting time, but together we can all work through this.